This is Hunter versus the Lich King. Hunter, a lot of people say, oh, this is really hard because of this and this and this. Honestly, it's not that hard, I found. You basically just need to go for a specific strategy, which is Barnes. Obviously, Barnes is one of the good thing about Barnes is that you always have it, assuming you've actually completed One Night in Karazhan. So that's that. The follow-up, of course, could be a little bit more difficult. Generally, the way we go for this, you'll see soon, but there are other options. The main thing here is that for every minion we have, he deals 2 damage. We only have 3 minions in this deck, which is why Barnes is so valuable. We know exactly what we're going to summon, pretty much. If you decide... Because normally, obviously, a hunter has plenty of minions, plenty of beasts. Not this time around. So, we need to make it to round 4 to get Barnes out, and then the follow-up combo. And until then, what we need to rely on is basically things that spawn minions for us. Like bear traps or summon animal companion, that sort of thing. Or to stop us from getting murdered, we have stuff like Explosive Trap. Explosive Trap, one of my favorite cards. So good. Turn 4, we get Barnes out. And we have 2 options we can get, and we get exactly the one I want. Yasharaj, the Rage Unbound. I really like this card. I like all the 4 old guard cards. And there's Isera. Now, we've pretty much won. We are going to get a dream card every turn. Our Yasharaj is going to summon any remaining minions, which I don't think we have. I mean, it'll summon out the real Yasharaj, which will be pretty much all we need. And then, combined with the dream cards, this is a piece of cake, pretty much.
On with the show.
Having this many strong cards out early is all we really need. The key here is to get him before the Wailing Souls phase. Here we go. Real Yasharaj. And then we got a Laughing Sister on top of that. The board is just so strong, he can't compete with it right now. Even if he were to obliterate one of the things, well, it doesn't really matter. Picked up Play Dead because I think we have another card in the deck that we may end up seeing. Rip Barnes, we don't need you anymore. But the sheer damage we can toss out now.
Is there trouble?
He can't compete with. Finally.
I have no time for games.
No time for games, particularly with Play Dead. This is a free mind control. So whatever he busts out next, we can just borrow. So that makes not really a problem. Thank you. Obviously, I understand that if you don't have Yasharaj, or... Well, it's mostly Yasharaj. But even the other ones, like, this isn't really doable, but sadly that does end up being the case for a lot of Hearthstone. He's at 5 health, it would have been really nice to kill him this turn, but we're gonna have to deal with the Trapped Soul and Frostborn face. Shouldn't be much of a problem. That is kind of the case with Hearthstone. You do need cards, and, you know, if you don't pay money for it, you're gonna have to play a lot, and I mean a lot. I am in no way trying to pretend that Hearthstone isn't quote-unquote pay to win. You can argue the definition of that if you want, but the simple fact is that if you don't have a lot of really cool cards, you're not really going to win much, unless it's in a particularly good meta where you find that, oh yeah, you know, Grim Patron is popular or whatever. That's not a particularly expensive deck. There will always be a couple of decks that are easy and cheap, which is always nice. You can always go for them. But the best part of the game is usually cool legendaries and stuff, and sometimes you need to have those. So for in the case of this, going up against the Lich King, this sort of strategy works really well for him. But if you don't have Yasharaj, or Barnes for that matter, if you never bought One Night in Karazhan, that doesn't work at all, obviously. You'd have to go for something entirely different. Probably just heavy on summon cards rather than minions, and a decent chunk of spells for damage. Either way, pretty difficult. You gotta get him up there. The beauty of this is that it worked out so well. And he dies as soon as his first Morn is down. Yasharaj wins. The Lich King does not.
You did it, champion!
There must always be a Lich King.
Deathstalker Rexar. Come, Misha. The hunt begins. The art, as usual, is very cool. Four out of 9. Time to get our 5th.
The Lich King!
Thrall versus the Lich King as the Shaman.
For Doomhammer.
We have a bunch of different ways to deal with it, but there are 2 key cards you need. One is Evolve, the other is Devolve. That is the key. Now, part of what you also want to do is you want to throw in a bunch of eggs, because you'll see soon the gimmick of this fight. He casts, what is it called? Cower before me, Terror before me?
Terror before me.
No, Necrotic Plague. It's called Necrotic Plague, is what it's called. It sets all my minions in my hand and in my deck to 1/1. That includes eggs. Eggs that were normally like 0/5 or whatever are now 1/1s. Which means it's a lot easier to break them and get ourselves a 4/4 minion out on the board. Similarly, other than that, obviously it's the same case as before. We want stuff that spawns minions. And we're lucky enough to get a Flame Tongue early, which is gonna make all our 1/1s 3/1s. And this summons the Nerubian, a 6/4. All of a sudden, we're talking a pretty strong board this early. As you can see, that Nerubian can just take out that Water Melt and not even worry. Devolve in our hand, excellent, we are going to need that. These summon as 2/3s rather than 1/1 because, again, it's a summon spell. It's not actually a minion card, which is very handy.
Winter is here, and it's cold!
And it's cold! Evolve in our hand, now we're pretty much set. Evolve is also useful because all our minions that we can drop on the board that are 1/1s, we can then evolve them and then they will get their proper stats, not 1/1. So there's multiple useful stuff involving this. This is one of the longer ones, not as long as the Druid, I want to say. I'm sure you can, there's different decks you can go. One of the obvious one we'll get into in a bit. But right now, as you can see, the spiders respawn. We're getting a lot of benefit from the Flame Tongue Totem here. The Runic Egg. Again, so much easier to get rid of it now when you actually have some damage on it. Trying to figure out exactly where to place it, but in the end I don't think it matters that much. Not gonna get attacked this turn anyway. Maybe better just to get this out so that we could just flat out attack and destroy the taunt. That gives us 6 damage onto either the minion or him. Overload isn't a huge deal here. You're always working around turn 7. That's when you know Frostborn is going to come out. Thrall is another character that didn't really have that much of a deal with the Lich King himself. Even in Warcraft 3 and so on, he had his own thing going on. His part of the story was all about the orcs and elements and stuff. So, we know next up, we're gonna get the Frostmourne face, which means we don't need to worry about these dudes too much. Because they are literally never going to be seen again. Now we're going to evolve our dudes. As you can see, that makes them a lot more stronger than the 1/1s we had. They're not the best, so we're gonna evolve again, which ends up giving us 2 legendaries. Can't complain about that one. And we still have the Devolve in our hand, which is exactly what we need. Turn 7 happens. Here comes Frostmourne. And you might have figured out the thing we're going to do right now. He only holds Frostmourne in his hand as long as there are Wailing Souls active. And of course, if we devolve the Wailing Souls, they are no longer Wailing Souls.
Dark path is my destiny.
He got back one of those guys, one of the Necromancers, but the rest is devolved low-level minions right now. I want to say they're all level 2 mana cost minions. And we are sitting on a lot higher mana cost minions at this point on, using a little bit of an upgrade, and just intelligent trades at this point. We're fine. I say we're fine, but it is still very easy to fuck up if you're not very smart. Like, for example, I should not have cast Feral Spirit there. I only got one of them. So, the difficulty here is figuring out how much you want to clear the board and how much you want to just go for face. Because if he has a bunch of shitty minions on the board, that's pretty good, because it means he can't get out some of his better ones. But you also still want to keep the board clear. We want to have as many minions as possible here. Here comes Obliterate. He decided to go for that one rather than Sylvanas, which is interesting. If we're lucky here, we can get Sylvanas killed and steal the Black Knight. This point on is just top decking, and we're just hoping for the best. As you can see, he still has a whole bunch of cards. We do not. But intelligent trade here means we can handle it. Sadly, sometimes I cannot be described as intelligent when playing Hearthstone, and I make some mistakes. We'll see those soon, I suspect.
Protect the flight. Let none survive.
Remorseless Winter Phase has started, and we start doing a lot of damage. Here's the problem. That Bone Mare causes lots of problems. But this is where it would be amazing to get Sylvanas to steal one of these things. But there's nothing really to kill her on except the actual Black Knight herself, so we're gonna have to hope just to steal the Bone Mare. And we get the River Crocodile. No, we don't. We actually get the thing. I did remember that much, but it would have been typical to get the River Crocodile. See there! That! Did you notice that? That was the mistake. If we hadn't attacked that Bone Mare, this next round wouldn't be so tense. He would have been, I want to say 3 or 4 HP lower. And instead, we're all of a sudden coming into some problems here because we look at the board we have and realize we're kind of in some trouble. We want to get rid of one unit of board so we can drop the Flame Tongue Totem. And then we're attacking, and I realize, oh shit, I think we miscalculated. I'm doing the math, and I'm realizing this all adds up to 15, not 16. And I realize, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Because I could have done that way differently. And it's like, okay, maybe he doesn't have taunts. Nope. No, he has taunts. He has taunts. And then I watch my board start to fall, and I go, oh no, oh god, what did I do? What did I do? Still though, I just need 1 health. I can get rid of the taunts. And of course, I can. I panicked a little bit, which wasn't necessary. Even there, I could have won. Oh my god, looking back at this, I could have just killed the thing with the Bone Mare and then attacked with one of my 1/1s. Sometimes, Rythian. Sometimes I understand when everyone says they're ripping their dicks. Making this way more difficult than it needed to be. At this point on, I was sure I'd lost it. I was 100% sure. And then the clutch bloodlust. Can't necessarily say I deserved this victory, but I'll take it. Considering I could have won it 2 rounds. Missed lethal, as they say.
Give that minion a turn to get ready.
Protect the flight.
Finally, we got it. Could have gone a lot better, but in the end, we won, and that's what counts.
You did it, champion!
There must always be a Lich King.
For all us, the Lich King doesn't make a lot of sense, story-wise. Even the text is a bit... He says sleep. Wait, what? But again, art, really, really cool. Rune number 5. 4 to go. There's the tough ones left now. Let's see how this goes.